Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something really cool. We're exploring the foundational Japanese manufacturing philosophies that literally revolutionized global production. We're talking about the exact systems that took chaotic, incredibly wasteful factory floors and turned them into these sleek, highly tuned engines of efficiency. So if you've ever wanted to understand how modern businesses actually survive, adapt, and thrive by doing way more with less, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get started. 60%. Think about that number for a second. According to data from the Lean Enterprise Research Center, about 60% of the activities happening in a typical manufacturing firm are completely 100% wasteful, meaning they add zero value from the customer's perspective. Just imagine if 60% of your daily effort went straight into the trash. That represents a massive loss of capital and a huge drag on productivity. And really, this one staggering statistic is exactly why the concepts we're unpacking today were born in the first place. Okay, let's dive into this and lay out our roadmap. First up, we'll look at the war on waste. Then, just-in-time production, or JIT. Third, we'll break down the 3M approach. Fourth, we're covering Kaizen and continuous improvement. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the Kanban system. All right, Section 1, the war on waste. This is all about the overarching mindset of minimizing those sneaky inefficiencies. So what's the ultimate weapon in this war? Well, it's lean manufacturing. It's essentially a method laser-focused on maximizing productivity while minimizing waste. Think of it like a master efficiency ecosystem that houses all the other specific tools we'll be discussing today. It's an entire system designed from the ground up to eliminate non-value-added activities, right from the very moment raw materials are bought, all the way down to final delivery. The ultimate overarching goal: deliver exactly what the customer values, but do it at the lowest possible cost. Moving right along to Section 2, just-in-time production, or JIT, minimizing inventory. This concept was actually pioneered way back in 1970 by Toyota, and let me tell you, it completely flipped traditional manufacturing on its head. And this brilliantly illustrates that massive shift in thinking. So the old traditional way, that meant hoarding huge stockpiles of materials just in case. You'd pay massive storage costs and risk your inventory becoming completely obsolete if an order got canceled. But just in time, it operates on receiving materials exactly when they're needed on the production line. You minimize inventory and pretty much wipe out storage costs. But it's definitely not without risk. Because you're relying on immediate deliveries, JIT is incredibly vulnerable to supply chain disruptions, which is something a lot of businesses painfully found out during the COVID-19 pandemic. The thing is, you can't just wake up one morning and decide to do JIT. It requires a business to essentially operate without a safety net of stockpiled goods. So it relies heavily on highly accurate demand forecasting. You really need to know what to order. You absolutely need rock-solid partnerships with reliable suppliers, well-trained workers who deliver quality workmanship to avoid defects, and of course, highly efficient production processes without bottlenecks. In fact, similar systems, like Motorola's short-cycle manufacturing or IBM's continuous flow manufacturing, they all rely on these exact same critical pillars. All right, that brings us to Section 3, the 3M approach, a core framework straight out of the Toyota production system. Now, I know that Japanese terminology can sound a bit intimidating at first glance, but honestly, the concepts are super straightforward. The 3Ms are muda, which means waste, mora, which is unevenness, and muri, meaning overburden. And the fascinating thing is how deeply these three interlock. Think about it. If you have an uneven schedule, that's mora, you're inevitably going to overburden your staff or your machines, which is muri. And when machines break or your team is just totally exhausted, well, that generates massive amounts of waste, which is muda. You literally have to address all three to get that perfectly balanced workflow. Let's unpack that first M, muda, by looking at its 8 most common types. There's a brilliant acronym for this: downtime. It stands for defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. Every single one of these represents an action that adds zero value for the customer. And here's the really cool part. If a business successfully fixes unevenness and overwork, those other 2 M's we talked about, they'll actually start seeing dramatic, natural reductions in these 8 downtime wastes. It's all connected. So how do we actually get the people inside our organizations to spot and fix these problems? Well, that leads us to Section 4, Kaizen and continuous improvement. This is all about continuous growth. Kaizen, sometimes pronounced Kaizen, is this fantastic philosophy that really leans into the ripple effect. It's all about making step-by-step, small, incremental changes. Rather than having a bunch of executives roll out one massive, super risky overhaul, Kaizen actually empowers every single employee on the shop floor to suggest small tweaks. Why? Because the people actually doing the tasks know them best. Simply fixing an awkward workstation or slightly adjusting where a tool is placed can lead to absolutely monumental improvements in efficiency, safety, and team morale over time. And that Kaizen mindset is the bedrock for our next concept, JIT. JIT basically means automation with a human touch. And this is absolutely crucial. It doesn't matter how advanced our robots or IT systems get, right? They can't evolve on their own. Human wisdom and manual craftsmanship are still totally indispensable for finding those basic principles and applying Kaizen. So when you combine the raw efficiency of just-in-time with the human-led automation of JIT, you get the legendary Toyota production system, which pretty much everyone agrees is the gold standard for continuous improvement. To really ground this abstract theory into reality, let's look at this incredible insight from Toyota. A single car is made up of over 30,000 parts. I mean, just imagine trying to manage that. If they waited for a customer order to start fabricating those 30,000 parts, it would literally take months to get your car. Instead, by using complete synchronization across all their partners, they stock only the absolute bare minimum number of parts on the assembly line, immediately replenishing whatever gets used. It creates this beautiful closed loop of continuous, synchronized flow. Now, while Kaizen and the Toyota system are powerhouses, they definitely aren't the only tools out there. There's a whole toolkit of versatile methodologies. You've got Six Sigma, which uses hard data to aim for near-zero defects. There's the PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act, which is a rigorous standard for solving problems. Then there's the 5S methodology, which is absolutely brilliant for organizing a workspace. And finally, Total Quality Management, or TQM, which focuses on the whole organization's commitment to quality. The key takeaway here is that these aren't mutually exclusive. You can use them as standalone programs, or they work beautifully in tandem with lean principles to make any business incredibly agile. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the philosophy of efficiency, but how do we control the actual physical movement of materials day to day? Enter Section 5, the Kanban system, visual scheduling. Let me just pose a direct question to you. If you're running a factory with thousands of moving parts, how on earth do you prevent inventories from just piling up on the floor and creating these chaotic bottlenecks? Because without a strict system in place, human nature is just to keep producing and pushing stuff down the line. Well, the answer is Kanban. Kanban translates to a visual scheduling and signal system. Imagine a workstation is running low on a specific bolt. The Kanban acts as a visual clue. Back in the day, it was a physical card or a sticky note, though today it's usually a digital software board that signals the exact quantity of bolts needed. Then the preceding station only produces or sends the exact amount indicated by that signal. It's amazing because it ensures the whole plant operates on a pulse system based on actual, real-time demand, instead of just pushing excess inventory blindly forward. So the crucial point really rests on the core pillars of Kanban. First, you absolutely must visualize workflows. Break the process down step by step so expectations are crystal clear. Second, and this is huge, you set strict limits on work in progress or your active inventory. This is kind of the magic of Kanban. The second a limit is exceeded, it instantly flags an inefficiency on the line that demands immediate attention. And third, by constantly addressing those little flagged inefficiencies, you maintain a relentless focus on creating a smooth, unbroken flow. We've seen just how incredibly powerful JIT, Lean, the 3M model, and Kanban really are in transforming operations. But as we look to the future, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought. Toyota's models are actually seeing a huge surge in popularity right now as they merge with modern tech. So as we integrate things like the Internet of Things and AI into our manufacturing, how will that deeply human philosophy of Kaizen, that crucial human touch, evolve to eliminate whatever is left of that 60% waste? It is a truly fascinating intersection of human wisdom and digital capability. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep looking for those small, continuous improvements in your own workflows.